Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Can you hear me and see my screen? If you could just confirm with yes in the questions, and we'll get started. All right, excellent. Thanks, guys. Always appreciate it. Okay, let's get started here. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. For more information, go to bookmap.com. The product comes along with education. There is a 4-part educational course, and in that course, we go through just some of the basics on up through very advanced concepts and understanding order flow. So it might be a little bit different than what you're typically used to. And we'll go through some of those differences today so that you guys get a feel for that. I'm also going to give you the link today to the advanced order flow webinars. Okay, so this is the next item here. You can see, whoops. The advanced order flow webinars. Well, what we do in these, and they start at 11 Eastern, right after this webinar here, we go through the advanced concepts or all of the concepts basically in the educational course, but we really dive into it in detail. Okay, so you can get a feel for that today if you like. And I'll pass out that link. Here it is. It's in the chat box for you, so you can register for that now if you like. Okay, the concepts or the material that we cover in that live order flow webinar, it supports what is in the educational course. So you can learn about it in the educational course, and then you can see it in the live markets. Okay. So you got the link for that. Good morning, Nodowski. I still have not gotten around to calling you. Would it be okay after the advanced webinar today? So it would be around 12 Eastern. Let me know. It's on my list to do. I just haven't gotten around. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so there's the information about that. Let's see. There was another issue I wanted to address here with. Who was it here? Was it Abel? No, Phil. Phil, regarding data, I had said slight differences between data feeds in Bookmap. I just wanted to address something that I kind of forgot to, or maybe I kind of glanced over it yesterday. It depends on the time frame that you're accessing there. Okay, so if you're more zoomed out, and you're not really narrowed in on really low time frames, and Bookmap is excellent at showing that data. We are extremely accurate at plotting all of that data. Okay, so if you are accessing that kind of data, then it will be important for a good data feed. If you're more zoomed out and looking at Bookmap on higher time frames, then that's okay. You can access some of the other data feeds that are going to be less accurate, but it'll be fine for you. Okay, so it really depends on that. Right, it depends on your demands as a trader. Okay, wanted to address that. And for example, that kind of segues nicely into something I wanted to address as well. Let me make this a bit smaller here. Okay, so yesterday, for example, and I'm going to go through this in the advanced order flow webinar following this webinar here. There's a reversal pattern here that we saw in yesterday's action. And let me see can I zoom into this area here. I believe so. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we saw this in the live webinar right around this time here, and this kind of breach to the top. Okay, and if it was going to reject and come back into the range, we're looking for it to fail pretty quickly, and initially it did. Okay, and then it kind of went sideways for a little bit right at this point of control on this higher time frame, and then we saw a dramatic follow through to the downside. Okay, my point is a bookmap can be used on these higher time frames. Okay, so that's if you're looking at higher time frames and you want to understand the order flow on those higher time frames, you can use Bookmap. You don't have to be looking at this really low time frame. Sounds like Phil, for example, is a scalper, and these data feeds, he's going to be more demanding for data clarity. Okay. Now, if you're zoomed out on higher time frames, though, you're going to get a good picture, though, in the order flow. Right. So, and you can use Bookmap on these higher time frames. This is a big distinction between us and other order book type of or DOM trading platforms. Okay, because you can zoom out and you can look at the order flow on much higher time frames. Okay, so for example, let's just take a look at today's action, see if we get anything here. Okay. Well, I mean, we do have a double bottom down here, and it's kind of, not really seeing too much. We are seeing a little breach here of this swing high, so we got to see if we're going to accept above that. But I'll get to all this in just a minute here. Let me get to some of the details for some of the newer traders in the room here. Just going through some of the basics, familiarity with bookmap.com. Come to the website here, an intro video as you scroll down. And information about Bookmap and NASDAQ total view. I'll cover this in just a minute. And then down to connectivity, always pause here and just define what Bookmap is. First and foremost, we are a visualization software trading platform. We are not a data provider. Okay, so if for futures and for US equities, you will need to provide the data. Okay, this is typical with all other platforms as well. So you can also see here we have some other platforms listed: NinjaTrader, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. Right? These platforms here, we connect via the API of these platforms. However, we are a platform, so you can connect directly, and we prefer that you connect directly to your data. So use CQG, Rhythmic, Gain, IQ Feed, Transact, and then Dev Experts. Now, the Dev Experts is for US equities, so you can connect directly to US equities. It's a great data feed for NASDAQ total view. I can go over that if you guys have any questions, because you can really utilize the heat map on much higher time frames there. Great stuff. In fact, I think I may just jump over there just to show you, see if we can get a good example today. Look at Amazon and let's zoom out, or maybe look at Apple and zoom out. Okay, yeah, I mean, here's a pretty good example in Apple. It's not the greatest, but look at this high liquidity here. This is pre-market, pre-cash market opening, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Okay, well, you can already see larger player is right here, okay, with high liquidity. This is where they're willing to trade, and they're staying in the book. Look how they're layering in, and they've been layering in even pre-market, as you can see over here, at these higher time frames. They are absorbing as price is coming up into them. We now know the position of the larger players by zooming out and consuming depth of market data, your DOM data, on much higher time frames. And here it is in front of us. Okay, so that's my point. We'll go back to the ES here, and let me get to the presentation. Nodosky, what does it mean delayed 45 hours? Yeah, I thought I was getting real-time data here, so I'll need to check. But I mean, I'm looking at 1040 here, so I believe mine is not delayed. So this might be a bug here. I need to check with guys in development on that. All right. Anyway, if you see that Apple is up at 180.32, then this is live here. Okay, so I'm not sure on that one actually. Mine might be delayed, slightly delayed as well. Anyway, that's about the connectivity here. You will need to provide the data. Okay, for GDAX, okay, for the digital currencies, actually you won't need to provide the data. Okay, we have a special partnership agreement, and we'll provide that data for you. Okay, so you'll get that for free. Let's see some of the packages here. All right, let's scroll down a bit and let's look at monthly. This is what you can get with Bookmap. Okay, so there's digital and global. Okay, the digital version here, it's free. You can download it. It's real time. You get access to only one digital currency and delayed feed for U.S. equities. All right, so yeah, get to check out the Bitcoin, US dollar, or euro, or whatever it is that you want through GDAX. There are limitations here. You only get the basic education. You get limited support and only access to one currency. Okay, now the Digital Plus, you on top of that, you get the ability to trade from the chart. You can record and replay your data, and you can look at up to 20 different digital currencies. Then you also get access to the advanced education as well as the live order flow advanced analysis webinars. Okay, Global Plus includes all of that, but offers the ability to connect to futures data and US equities data. Okay, you will need to provide the data, but you can connect to it. So it's $12 more a month for that feature. Global Plus includes everything in Digital Plus and Global. The big difference here is you get access to our cache of add-ons. Okay, one is the ability to trade right from the chart. Okay, it's a nice feature here, very nice feature, because you can front run high liquidity or hide your orders behind your stop orders behind high liquidity. All right, and then our proprietary indicators that we put together here. Not only are we identifying order flow phenomena, we're also identifying larger players. So large lot tracker and iceberg detector, we're identifying where the larger players are. Okay. All right. Social media, you can all sorts of new stuff on Twitter. So if you want the most up to date, you can follow us on Twitter. And then on YouTube channel, just very briefly go through it. There's playlists that we have on the front page here. This is the way to go. So watch some of the intro videos if you're new. Watch some of the features and components playlist here. And these order flow video snippets, concise 2 to 3 minute videos that go through order flow phenomena that we go through in much more detail in the live advanced order flow webinars. Okay, let's get started here into the live market and see what's going on. Okay, so yeah, just taking a quick look at Apple, approaching what? The 180.50 level with very high liquidity. Okay, you're going to note again and again. I mean, here they are down at 180 even. So this is going to be a pattern you're going to see again and again. This is why we're always looking at these whole numbers. And you may have heard traders say that over the years. Always look at the whole numbers and what's going on around them. Well, this is why. Here they are. Like, this is verification of that. It's not some wives' tale. Okay, so that's what Bookmap visualizes for you. Okay, to be able to see that. All right, let's take a look at the ES and start to go through some of the order flow here. All right, okay, so here's our 9:30 open here. Quick move to the upside. Right back down, some sideways action, and then looking kind of bullish here at the moment. Okay, we've just breached the high here, and I'm seeing some really nice clusters of aggressive buying up in these areas into high liquidity. All right, so looking for this to continue. This is definitely starting a trend upwards, and we want to see if we accept above the swing here at this 26.64. Okay, we'll take a look at it again. Maybe we'll reject back into the range here, but so far so good, and looks pretty good just by this overall view here. Yes, Gary, there is an advanced order flow webinar. I put the link in the chat there for you. Okay, here it is again. Good to see you, Gary. So there you go. Okay. All right, still, yep, still going to the upside here. We're just reading the tape here, and you know, a lot of time. Okay, so I need to. This is the the platform details webinar. I need to define some of these elements here for you guys, because in the advanced order flow webinar, we really move pretty quickly and identify these things and say like, okay, I'm looking at these clusters, blah blah blah, and then this continuation. Starting to see some sellers come back in at this point. So let me just slow down here for a minute and let's go through what you're looking at in Bookmap, so then you understand what I'm talking about here. So this chart, okay, it looks pretty complex here. It's actually very simple and straightforward data. It's about as objective a view of the market as I've ever seen, right? With only displaying 3 elements on this chart. The first element that we're displaying is historical best bid and offer. The second element is the volume that traded on that historical best bid and offer. Okay, note that we were wondering about this here, if we're going to reject up here in these areas. Okay, so we saw some follow through to the upside and we're rejecting now, okay, back into the range or back into where we broke from. Okay, and that's right around here. Okay, so we want to find out if we're going to accept back into this range or not. Anyway, it's being tested now. So I'll get to all that here in a minute. I just wanted to point that out. So let's go through these 3 elements on the Bookmap chart. The volume, the historical best bid and offer, and then this colored heat map. All it is the dome. Okay, the data here in the depth of market just plotted and recorded onto the chart historically. Okay, that's why you're able to read the dome on much higher time frames. Okay, like I was showing you in Apple, or even here in the S&P into this pretty big area of liquidity at 65. Okay, so let's go through simplifying this, okay, and taking off, stripping away this data, and we're going to just start with a candlestick chart, because we all know this pretty well. Okay, open, high, low, and close of a 5-minute aggregated period. That's the problem. It's aggregated. Okay, what happened within the 5-minute period is what we want to know, and we just don't have that. Even a footprint chart, it doesn't show this. You'll see the volume where it traded within the candlestick, but there's other elements that you're not going to see. Okay? You're not going to see the microstructure on your footprint chart. Why is that? Because it's aggregated. It just goes up and down within the period or bar rotation. Okay? The other element that you're not going to see is the speed of some of the moves. Okay, it just won't be there, because it will be aggregated within that 5-minute period. We can very easily overcome that by just displaying the historical best bid and offer. Okay, now we have all of the microstructure. Note the microstructure and back and forth up here. Okay, at the open right here, we opened up. It kind of went sideways for a while, and then it sold off. Okay, and then we see all sorts of stuff down here. Pretty ugly, but here's our breakout. Okay, and we can see some interesting stuff already here. Okay, this breakout here of this range, it failed and came back into the range. Right, went sideways again, and it tried to break out again, and this time it accepted above. Okay, so there's actually kind of ranges within ranges here. This is the first range that we broke here. Okay, beautiful little retest on the top of that range and continuation to the upside. Okay, it did it again kind of here, right? It's the swing here, and you can see the breakout of that, and actually retested twice here, and then it accepted and broke out further to the upside. Okay, and finally, this was the range that we're really interested in here, and it was looking pretty good. Okay, until just recently, right? So that's what we're looking at in terms of these ranges and microstructure, and none of that is available within the candlestick chart. You just don't see it. Okay, The other thing that you don't see is the volume that traded on that in that historical best bid and offer. Okay, so now we're looking at it, and we're going to get a lot of insight by looking at this volume. Okay, so here's our sideways action. You can see both green and red dots going back and forth, and then note the distinction though in some of these areas. Okay, kind of here's a nice little cluster up here of buying, right? But it failed. Okay. That this little breakout, the auction looks pretty good here, okay? But over in this area here, it exhausted out on the buy side and it came back down and just went sideways in the range. Next little auction to the upside here, it accepted, okay? And it started to trend here. Okay, now we might be witnessing that trend reversal, we'll read that in just a minute here. Okay, so we want to understand this volume though. It's pretty critical. Okay, let's zoom in and let me just define what we're displaying here, because it's really important to understand this. It's such simple data here. All this is historical best ask, which is the red line, and best bid is the green line. And then you can see the volume dots here. Let me bring up the dot size. Okay, the volume dots here, we can use this data tip tool, is just showing the aggressor classification of the volume. Okay, so here, this is an aggressive market buy order. Someone hit the market buy button and they took liquidity off of the best offer. Okay, this was for volume of 2. This one here is for a volume of 1. Okay, this bigger dot over here, this is for a volume of 60. Okay, but I'm going to show you here that we're displaying every single market event. I'm going to zoom into this area and we're going to see every single event that took place. Okay, looks like that's actually a trade of 1. Okay, maybe this one is more. Okay, that's actually for 1 for 8 as well. All right, anyway, you can see the volume here and how we're displaying it. We were just looking at down here at microsecond level. These are millions of seconds. Okay, so we're very accurately displaying all of this data. The reason being is we came from the HFT environment, developing algos, and it was required to understand exactly where we were getting filled. That's why we record and plot all of this data. Nodosky, this is just the last price here is this white line. I'm showing a pretty bad example of this because there's some latency. Phil, this will kind of answer your question as well. Here's an example of latency using Rhythmic. Okay, look at the trade data came in a little quicker than the quotes data. Okay, so that's just a part of the game here. You can see that this is what really happened. They lifted the offer pretty quickly and swept the book higher by a tick, and then it traded here for a while, and then finally the quotes data updated and then plotted here. Okay, so there is latency. Okay, even with the best of data providers here using Rhythmic. All right. Anyway, note how as I zoom back out, what we've done is we've consolidated or just visually aggregated that data into a bigger dot, and you get the overall volume here of 60. Okay, that's what we're showing here, and you can see that so many trades take place here that sometimes we have to give you the overall shape and delta of it by giving you this a pie display here. So the majority up here was selling, but about a quarter of these 31, or the volume of 31 up here, about a quarter of it was aggressive buying, and 3/4 was selling. Where's the best bid offer? I mean, all of this comes from the exchange, right? Or from the data provider, from the exchange to the data provider to us. Okay, and we just plot it. That's it. Now, why do you see a delay? Is because there's 2 different protocol that this comes into our machine. Okay, that's why there's some delays. And even if you're using Rhythmic and sitting right next to me, um, if you have a different machine or maybe your connection's a little bit different, your data may vary a little bit as well. That's why it's kind of a slippery slope here, Phil. I wasn't trying to say that oh, there's slight differences here and there, but there will be differences even with just the smallest of things. It's just how it is. Okay. That's why the larger players, what they'll do is they'll be connected directly to the exchange, like a block away or less from that exchange, and they pay dearly for that. Okay, but they're getting, their algos are working very, very quickly, and that's an advantage for them. They'll get filled, milliseconds or microseconds, maybe even nanoseconds before someone else. All right, so that's part of the game here, and we should know that because that is the environment we are in, and that is the competition we are trading against. Okay, that's why this can be a really good tool because we're giving a very clear and objective view of what's going on here with the traded volume. Okay, now those are just the two elements here that I've shown. Just, we haven't even gotten to the heat map. So in the next couple minutes, let me cover the heat map, and then for you guys, you have the link there. I'll put it into the chat again for you if you came late. There it is. You can click on that and you can join us for the advanced order flow webinar because I really haven't gone over much analysis here. Okay. Anyway, let's finish up here. Just take the candlestick off and let's put the heat map on, and then let me get into some of the details here. Okay. Let's go to the current market. There we go. Okay, so now the heat map. So we know what the volume is. We know what the historical best bid and offer is. Okay, well, what's this heat map, this colored heat map? What this is just looking at the dome here. Okay, we're all pretty familiar with the dome. These are contracts here. It's liquidity. These are traders up here on the offer that are willing to provide liquidity. They're offering contracts. They want to be sellers at specific price levels. Down here is on the bid. They want to be buyers at these levels. Okay, you'll note these numbers are always changing. Okay, it's really important to understand where this large liquidity is. Okay, we can see up here at 67. They're with high liquidity, over 600 contracts. Look at up here at 68. Now they just pulled high liquidity. It was yellow. Now it's blue. When that number changed, the heat map changed to reflect the new value here. So that's what we're doing. We're taking the data, transforming it into a heat map, and then plotting it on the chart historically. So note these striations up here in the heat map at 68. It was very high liquidity here when it was orange. It was less when it was yellow, less when it was white, and then it just turned blue, and it's even less. Okay, so here's the scale of the heat map from dark gray to orange. That's the heat map I'm looking at. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. What this allows you to do, as I was mentioning earlier, is you can now zoom out and we can understand this auction and use this depth of market data on much higher time frames. Okay, and yeah, well, here's our answer on that follow through. Okay, that breakout to the upside. Okay, we are back in the range clearly. All right, we've gone sideways for a bit. You can see we bounced off of this little area here. We understand why we bounced off, and we came back up into the top of this range here, and we bounced off of that. And look at the selling now. Sellers are in control down here. Okay, look at the big red circles here. They're hitting the bid. Okay, and we are down below another range as well. Now we got to see if we might, accept or reject there, but and that's being tested right now. Anyway, this is the same process that we did over here to see if we're going to accept or reject. Okay. Anyway, let's continue. You guys are welcome to join us in the next webinar. Let's jump over to there, and we'll see you there. If not, then have a good weekend. Okay, bye-bye.